Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. This is, as always, your host, Mike Bono. We have a fantastic episode for everybody today. This is our NFL preview show. Another roundtable. I know some of you are probably getting sick of this, but I love these roundtables, and I love bringing my panel of guests on here. We have a great panel of guests for this season's NFL preview show. I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves so that we can get rolling and break down the NFL season for everybody. We will start with kind of a staple in the roundtables, Tony.
Yep, my name's Tony Bogan. I'm from Shaker Heights. I do sports reporting for KeonSports.com, and I do a podcast called Tapped In with Tony.
Awesome. And next panelist that we will be introducing, Jordan. Tell everybody where you're from and what you do.
My name's Jordan DeMarco. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I currently teach at Ford High School, and I coach football at Elizabeth Ford High School, about 15 miles south.
All right. And one of my favorite NFL analysts that comes on this show, Mr. Askew.
How you doing? My name is Mr. Askew, a.k.a. Vampire Coach, as you already know, from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm currently up here at the great state of Minnesota, coaching at a Minnesota North College, junior college. Me up here having fun, getting it done.
Absolutely. Next on the list, Aaron Fry.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Aaron Fry. I am from Vandergrift, Pennsylvania, which is about 30 minutes east of Pittsburgh. I'm now Delaware-based, and I am a sports coordinator for the Diocese of Wilmington.
All right, and the last panelist to join this round table, legendary coach Hal Mummy.
I'm Hal Mummy. I'm a longtime head football coach in college. Currently, I'm working for the International Football Alliance, which is a professional developmental league, and enjoying that quite a bit. And we're looking forward to kicking off next spring in 24.
All right, so this is your panel of panelists for the NFL preview show. We're going to go ahead and get rolling right into this here. So first question I have for y'all, and Aaron, we're going to start with you. Who do you think wins the NFL MVP and why?
Man, I think that's a good one. I've been back and forth with this. I'm gonna just keep it. I'm gonna just keep it the way it is. I think it's Pat Mahomes' world right now. I really think he gets back to that. He's still an MVP for me. He's probably the best player in the league. So I got to give it to Pat Mahomes still.
Not a bad pick. Hal, who is your pick for the NFL MVP and why?
Well, several guys run through my mind that are younger guys that I think are going to have breakout seasons. Joe Burrow being one of them, Trevor Lawrence another. But I'm just like our last guess. It's hard to get away from Mahomes. I'm going to go with Mahomes.
Mister, what about you?
You know what? I think this would be the year, man, that Joe Burrow will break through. I mean, he's been showing what he can do the last several years. He got plenty of help. I think this year, man, it's gonna be complete, man. I think it's all about the nasty natty, man. I'm going with Joe Burrow.
Okay, Tony, what about you?
I gotta say, Pat Mahomes' world, and we're all living in it. There are a lot. See, you can knock off the Chiefs. I'll go with Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Jordan, round us off here.
Yeah, hard to go against Mahomes. I like what Hal said. I think Trevor Lawrence takes a big step forward again this year. He took another step last year, I thought. But Joe Burrow, again, so I think when you think about it, you think of three guys: Burrow, maybe Josh Allen, and Mahomes. And I think you got to keep giving the edge to Mahomes. It's his world right now, and it's kind of his MVP almost to lose, I feel like. So I'm going to go Mahomes as well.
All right. I guess a couple solid picks in there, all for Mahomes, it seems like, which, I mean, that's a safe bet in my opinion. But Jordan, we're going to stay with you. Which team improved the most between the NFL draft and free agency, in your opinion?
The first team that comes to mind when you say this is the New York Jets.
Yeah.
I think you get a guy like Aaron in there, and it gives you a completely different outlook on how you feel about the Jets. He's a guy that can win it for you whenever the ball is in his hands. It's just going to come down to how good is their defense, how good is their O-line to keep him protected. And no matter, I think everyone's watching Hard Knocks and they're seeing him gel with the guys, but when the season hits and you're with a new team, things can change. But I want to say the Jets have a completely different outlook than they did last year with Aaron behind center.
Okay. Tony, what about you?
I gotta agree with Jordan. The New York Jets are one of the teams to watch, man, because Aaron Rodgers is gonna be going up there. He wanted to go to New York. He got his request. He's got some talent with him. Hopefully, Aaron Rodgers can thrive because that New York media market, they do not mess around with their sports.
Okay, Mister, what's your take?
Man, I think I'm gonna have to go back to them. I'm gonna have to go with Philadelphia Eagles, man. The some of the guys that got through the drive and they continue to build through free agency. I think Philadelphia Eagles is going to surprise a lot of teams. It's hard to bet against that quarterback up there that they have. He got something to prove, and I think he's going to make it happen.
Okay, Hal, what about you?
Well, I'm going to go against the grain a little bit here, and I'm going to go with the Lions because of what they've added on defense. And they came on at the end of last year. I think Aaron Glenn's doing a great job with that side of the ball. And I think they're just good. They're just good enough on offense with Jared Goff and some of those guys. I think they're going to have a great season. And defensively, they're going to improve quite a bit. Last year, they had a slow start on defense, and then they got real good at the end. But they've added a few guys that I think will really help them, particularly in the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean that used to be what's the word I'm looking for? Like a sleeper pick. I don't think so after last season. I think Detroit's here to stay. I think that's a good pick for me there, Hal. But Aaron, what about you?
I definitely love a lot of what everybody said here. I've been back and forth with this. I love the Jets. I love what they got going on. I think they benefited a lot getting A-Rod up there. I think a lot of people are failing to talk about a really sleeper team like Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville takes a super big step. I think New Orleans is a dark horse. I think they figured some things out down there. They got pretty healthy. But my pick here with free agency and the draft, I got to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
I just totally think that they filled the gaps. They're making trades all over the place. Omar Khan is doing an amazing job as far as what he did with free agency. Up until the 53-man roster cut, he's making trades and getting more draft picks going into the future. I think Kenny Pickett, I think he passed the eye test of taking a big jump this year. I know it's preseason, but he's 5 for 5 on drives that he's been playing. He's got 5 touchdowns. He's finishing drives off. I'm really excited of what they got going on this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I was going to say. This is one I was going to weigh in on. Pittsburgh was going to be my pick too as well. I mean, I think just what they did in the offseason and Pickett, I think he's proven to everybody, just this preseason that he's here to stay. I mean, we'll see what happens when we get into the regular season, but I got high hopes for the Steelers this year. Speaking of the Steelers, one of their I guess you could say rivals from the Big Ben and Tom Brady days and the Patriots. So, Aaron, we're going to stay with you. Do you think the Patriots make the playoffs this year? Why or why not?
I'm going to say it no. I think that division is loaded, and I think every other team in that division is just way ahead of them right now. And that's really traditionally New England is well coached. They're always going to be ready with a game plan. Bill Belichick has those guys ready to play every game. But I just think if you look at the New York Jets, both sides of the ball are loaded. The void they had to fill, to me, was the quarterback position. I think Aaron Rodgers, you can't say enough about him, future Hall of Famer. He has weapons across the board. And then, you look at the Bills. I like what McDermott is doing up there. They've been close for a couple years, and then you got to look at the Dolphins. I mean, I just think a lot of people, again, like they're a quiet storm. They have arguably the best receiver duo in the league. I think Tua, if he can stay healthy, can get those boys going. If the defensive side of the ball with the Dolphins can stay healthy, I know they're going to be missing out with Jalen Ramsey, but I also think that if he can come back in form, I mean, I don't know how the Patriots kind of get out of there and could get division wins.
Yeah. What about you? Do you think the Patriots are a playoff team this year?
No, I don't. I don't think their quarterback's developed enough. And I was reading today, they actually have the toughest schedule in the league this year.
Yeah.
And that starts with their division, because their divisions, they're going to play, 6 tough games just right there. So I just don't think I don't think they've done enough on offense yet to get there.
Yeah.
The Bills are ahead of them for sure. Probably the Dolphins, and the Jets everybody's talked about Aaron going to the Jets, and I've been watching Hard Knocks too. I've enjoyed watching his interaction with all those young players around there, and I think if he can stay healthy, he's going to do some really good things for him. So those 3 are going to really make it tough on the pads.
Absolutely. Mister, what about you?
No, I don't think New England have enough firepower to to make it to the playoffs. And then, with their quarterback, he's still young, and although he's been in there, he still has a long way to grow and to develop. He just hasn't developed enough. And then I think on offense, they just don't have enough guys. They just don't have enough guys on offense. So I don't think they will be a playoff team this year.
All right. Tony, what about you?
I gotta say, I agree with everyone when I say the New England Patriots aren't going to make the playoffs. And here's a hot take for you guys: this will be Belichick's last year.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, there's a hot take. Jordan, round us out.
Very hot take.
Yeah, hard to bet against Bill after he's crushed my Steeler dreams for all those years, and he's a great coach. But you got to agree with everyone else. It's a loaded division. I think the Dolphins took a step. The Bills are the Bills, and the Jets now have Aaron, and I just don't think there's enough weapons offensively. Like Hal said, I don't know if Mac Jones has developed as much as they thought he would in the amount of years he's been in the NFL so far. I think it's 3. I just don't think they're a complete enough team to even get a wild card spot in that division.
Yeah, it's crazy to say that, the Patriots division with the Dolphins and the Jets, that the Patriots might be the bottom dweller in that division this year. Like, I never thought I'd see the day, but I'm kind of glad I am, because I can't stand the Patriots, to be honest with everybody here. Like, I'm kind of hoping that they don't make the playoffs just for that reason. But I think everybody's right here is right. I don't think they make it out of that division at all. And speaking of the AFC, Jordan, we're going to stay with you on this one. How do you rank the AFC North teams from first to worst?
Well, I'm going to put my Steelers biased self aside here, and I got to go the Bengals. They've been the best team in the division the last few years. Burrow's taken a step every single year. They've got the deadly receiving core, and when Tyler Boyd's your number 3 receiver, you got something good going on offensively. He might be pound for pound the best slot receiver in the NFL when it comes all said and done. And for him to be your number 3, I mean, you have weapons all over the place. Mixon can run it. And then, so I'll have them at 1. And then number 2, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am. I think they took a major step forward in free agency in the draft this year. I think you're going to see Kenny develop a little bit more than maybe people thought he would. I think some people don't think he's going to develop properly. I think he's looked good in preseason, but preseason's preseason. But I really think he's going to take a step forward this year, and they have a lot of weapons as well. They revamped the O-line a little bit, which was their biggest need. They got a 2-headed horse at running back, and the defense improved, especially on the outside at corner. So I'm going to go the Steelers at 2. I think they're very much a complete team. And I'm going to put, oh God, the 3 that I've been toying with this in my head. I'm going to go the Ravens at 3 just because of Harbaugh. Harbaugh's a great coach. As much as I can't stand him, he's a great coach. They got Lamar signed up, but I think they're lacking. I think their defense is in question for the first time in a few years. So I'll put them at 3, and I'm going to put the Browns at 4. Nothing against the Brownies. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be who they think he is. I don't think he's going to be returned to the Houston form of Deshaun Watson. I just don't think it's going to be like that, and I think there's question marks on that team a little bit. So,
all right, Tony, what about you?
As a Clevelander, I gotta say that the AFC North, top to bottom, is going to be one of the toughest divisions in NFL. That being said, I say the Bengals are going to be number 1. You've got Joe Burrow, you've got Jamar Chase, you've got Joe Mixon, as long as he stays out of trouble. You've got the Bengals at number 1 for obvious reasons. Number 2, this is going to be tough, but I'm going to give the edge to the Ravens as long as Lamar Jackson stays healthy inside that big boy deal. And you got to wonder what Odell Beckham Jr. can do, because this is he didn't play all of 2022. He's got him, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. And Baltimore's got a really exciting offense, but if they can put it together and hold leads, they're definitely going to be a threat to some people. And then you got the Browns at number 3. I think they're going to improve because this will be Deshaun Watson's first year, like full season with the Browns, so he'll have time to gel with that crew there. I think, and especially the Browns defense is the Browns defense. So there's a lot of optimism around Cleveland. But then again, it's been like that since 1999.
Isn't that always optimism around Cleveland with the Brownies, though? Like, let's not act like that's not a normal thing in Cleveland.
Yeah. And last, I gotta say this. Sorry to any Pittsburgh fans out there, but in last place is going to be the Steelers, and I don't think they're going to go this year. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right, Mister. What about you?
Hey, you know Cleveland can mess up a wet dream, all right? You know that. Hey, well, I'm gonna have to go with Cincinnati. I love the Bengals, love what they have and what they've been doing, man. Cincinnati be number 1. I'll have to go with Baltimore Ravens. I don't think you can bet against Lamar Jackson, man. He's just a total, he's a playmaker. He can make other guys better that's around him. And he has some weapons too. They can keep the running backs healthy. I think they can do some things. And then I will have to go with Pittsburgh Steelers at 3, and then so I got Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and then Cleveland.
Okay. How? What about you?
Well, I'm gonna be like everybody else. I think Cincinnati's has separated themselves a little bit from everybody, mainly because of Burrow and the offensive weapons he's got with him. After that, I like Baltimore because I think Lamar's going to rebound, and Harbaugh always has a defense. I don't care who he's coaching; he's always going to be good at defense. And after that, I mean, the Steelers and the Browns. I don't know. It's going to be who doesn't get hurt. Pickett. I think Deshaun's a veteran guy. If he can rebound from some of the problems he's had the last couple of years and focus just on football, he's going to be really good for him. On the other side with the Steelers, you got Pickett, who's a young guy coming on and wants to prove himself and has some weapons with him. So that's, to me, that's a coin toss.
Okay. Aaron, round us out here.
I'm gonna go against the grain with everybody, but a lot of great was said. I think it's a very competitive division, if not the most competitive. It's arguably the most competitive. When I look at across the board, what the AFC North has to offer, I mean, I think that the Bengals in the last 2 years have, obviously been in a great position to be able to punch their ticket to the AFC Championship and even the Super Bowl. I look at Pittsburgh last year; they took a step forward this year, and arguably was, they could have made the playoffs. But once they figured it out, obviously, going. When I look at Baltimore, I agree with Jordan. I think they got too many gaps on defense. I don't think they have enough depth. And then Cleveland, I mean, it's almost like they take a step forward and then they take a step back. So my order for this is going to be Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Cleveland.
I gotta say, I don't think there's a wrong answer with this division. This division is normally always loaded. I think everyone's sleeping on Pittsburgh. Honestly, I think Pittsburgh's going to surprise people, and I think it's going to come down to the last couple of weeks with Cincinnati and Pittsburgh as to who takes that division. So yeah, that's going to be a tough one to make. But Aaron, let's stay with you here. Which non-playoff team from last season makes the playoffs this year?
Pittsburgh. I mean, we're going to stay with Pittsburgh. So, like I said, I mean, I can't say it enough. I just think that, they filled the gaps they needed to fill. They were almost a playoff team last year. They won when it was crunch time. Barring health and having a healthy TJ Watt, obviously he makes a big difference. But when you look at the games he did play, he was effective. And down the stretch, the Steelers won games that they had to win. And I believe they're just going to be able to put more points on the board, sustain drives, and give our defense more of a blow to be able to obviously win the division and be able to, hopefully make a deep playoff run.
Okay. How? What about you?
I'm going with the New York Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers is probably good enough to get them there. And he's the biggest improvement they've made, obviously. Okay. And they weren't that far off last year. They started out pretty hot and then they faded.
Not a bad pick at all. Mister, what about you?
I tell you what, man, I'm gonna have to go far, far out west. And I think the Las Vegas Raiders will be a dark sleeper. I think, I think they will rebound from some of the shenanigans they had on last year. But I'm gonna go out west, man, with the Raiders.
Okay. Tony, what about you?
I'm going to stay close to Ohio, and I'm going to Detroit Lions. I think that they came from down with 1-6 start and damn near made the postseason, knocking off Aaron Rodgers in the process. I think the Detroit Lions are going to probably win the NFC North.
Okay. And Jordan, what about you?
I like what Tony just said about the Lions. I think you look at that division, and you could probably make the argument that it's the most winnable division in the NFL. I'm going to go with my boy Aaron, and maybe just because we're two Pittsburgh dudes, but I'm going to try to say it without my bias. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will make the playoffs this year. It all is going to really ride. If Kenny can take a step forward, I think they've added the veteran presence on defense on the corner position with Patrick Peterson. He's not who he used to be, but he's great for a guy like Joey Porter coming in. I like to get almost Hal's thoughts on this, but I think, and he would know obviously way more than me, I think we all look at the NFL and we think we might understand the culture of it and stuff, but I want to say Pittsburgh's really tried to change the culture. They kind of had distractions since 2017 on. I think they weeded out guys that they think they needed to weed out. And I think the culture aspect of them trying to maybe get back to, hey, let's focus on Pittsburgh Steelers football first, might help them as well. I think, certain guys that have been traded out and certain people that have been kept in or brought in are for that reason. But I don't know how much is a culture locker room thing aspect like that really a real thing in the NFL.
Absolutely. I mean, they've gotten away from, in my opinion, someone who grew up around Pittsburgh and watched Pittsburgh football, my entire life, they've gotten away from Steelers football, it seems like, in the past couple of years. And I think they're going to get back to that this year. And I think they're going to make a big splash and they're going to surprise a bunch of people. But staying on the playoff trend here, and Jordan, to stay with you, which playoff team from last year does not make it this year?
That's a great question. I want to say, I think Jacksonville is taking a step forward, but my gut just says they'll find a way to mess it up. I think Trevor Lawrence will take a step forward. That division's winnable as well too. Houston, I don't know, Jacksonville either. Did the Chargers make the playoffs last year? Can someone remind me? No.
They Jacksonville or Chargers.
Chargers.
Titans made the playoffs, correct?
The Titans did not.
No.
Oh, see, I'm all messed up now. I sound dumb. Hot take. If you want to hear a hot take over this?
Yeah.
This is my hot take of the day. Bills are going to take a step back this year. I think the Bills. Division. I can see the Bills missing out. That's a competitive division they play in. There's problems with Stephon Diggs and blah blah blah. That could be just talk. I think the Bills take a step back. I think that division got a lot more competitive since Aaron's in it. That'll be my hot take for the day.
Okay. Tony, what about you? Which playoff team does not make it?
Ooh, I gotta say the Chargers. Sometimes there are just games that it takes you like a while to just. Sometimes there are games that just break you. Like for instance, Atlanta hasn't recovered since blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. Chargers blew a 27-0 lead against Jacksonville in the wild card game. Brandon Staley's seat is going to be on fire going into the season. My prediction is, even though Justin Herbert's going to have a good year, I see the Chargers missing the playoffs.
Okay, Mister, what about you?
I tell you what, man, believe it or not, man, but I was thinking the same thing with Buffalo Bills. I really was, and you know, I just think, you know, sometimes it seems like the stage can be too big for them, if that kind of makes sense from time to time. But I think somehow, you know, I think they're gonna mess it up.
Okay, Hal, what about you?
Well, I've got a toss up between, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's either going to be the Cowboys or the Eagles because they're in the same division. They both paid their quarterbacks way too much money.
Yeah.
And it cost them because they had to get rid of some really key veteran players, both of them, in order to meet the salary cap. So I guess if I had to pick between those two, I would probably say the Cowboys, which is hard to do for a guy from Texas.
Absolutely. Aaron, round us out with this question.
Well, Bono, I mean, I'm gonna have to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. I
just gotta say Tampa.
Last year.
I mean, I think they have some talented guys, but I think they're going to be in a rebuilding process here. I think you can. I don't want to say it, but I just think it might happen. They might end up trading Mike Evans here. You know, I think it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but I'm gonna just say Tampa Bay. I think they're going to be in a rebuilding phase here pretty soon.
As much as it pains me to say, because I know everyone can see, and I've said it on here before, I am a Buccaneers fan. I'm wearing the Buccaneers hat for this show. I think they missed the playoffs. I don't have enough trust in Mayfield to lead us to the playoffs and all the issues with Mike Evans and everything like that. I think there's too many distractions right now in Tampa. And you're right, they're going to be rebuilding. I hate to say it, and it pains me to say it because that's my team, but you're not wrong. All right, so Aaron, let's stay with you for this one here. Who are your top 3 NFL coaches right now?
Ooh, that is a great question. So I gotta go. I don't want to be a bias here, but right now, I mean, I'm gonna go Mike Tomlin here. I mean, however many winning seasons consistently, was supposedly in a rebuilding phase and had the guys ready to play. I love Saleh with the New York Jets. I think he's a great coach. And then I'm gonna go Kyle Shanahan over there at San Francisco. You know, he's consistently figured things out. I think he's a great coach, and I think he has the 49ers back in form as soon as they get the Bosa situation figured out.
Okay. How? What about you? Top 3 NFL coaches right now?
Well, I think you got to go with Andy Reid first, and I like Shanahan a lot. And I'm gonna give you kind of a wild card here, but I like Dennis Allen at New Orleans. I think he's done some good things with those guys.
Okay, not bad picks, Mister. What about you?
I tell you what, man. I know you said 3 NFL coaches, right? Well, I'm gonna give you 3 names of the coaches. One of them will be an NFL coach: Mike Tomlin, Ernest Wilson, and Hal Mumme. Those 3
I
top
appreciate
coaches.
the compliment, but you need to give him some real names. Ernest got a shot.
I had a feeling
But
you were going to go with Ernest and Hal there.
you already know. Yeah. If I had to pick a wild card, it'd be your guy from Kansas City, though. And Reed, he's
It's
a
hard to
good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna leave it at that. Tony, what about you?
I gotta say, obviously Andy Reid. I mean, he's a Super Bowl champion. I would say this is going to be kind of an odd choice for number 2, but Jalen Hurts made him look good. Nick Sirianni of the Eagles, and
Good
I'm
choice.
going to say number 3 would be Zach Taylor of the Bengals.
Okay, and Jordan, round us out here.
First one that comes to mind is Andy Reid. I think he's got that team. That team has full trust in that guy with anything he's got going on, and I think he has full trust in them. And that's why they do so well. So Andy comes to mind first. I'll go with Mike Tomlin. I love Mike Tomlin. I do. You can argue the fact that they haven't won a playoff game in how many years. And then you can also argue the no losing seasons with it. But I'm going to go Tomlin. I think he kind of struggled with that. Maybe let the culture not slip a little bit, but getting guys that weren't football first, maybe. But I think he's done a good job to try to bring that back. And then I'm going to go with a rival just because out of pure respect, Harbaugh. I think right now Harbaugh is still one of the best coaches in the league. He's a guy that I think kind of what Hal said earlier, doesn't matter who they have on that team, he's going to get them ready to play football. And I tip my hat off to him because he's just that good of a coach, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, not bad picks by anybody on here at all. I like all those coaches, and I think that you can make an argument for any of them in the top 3, including you, Hal. Yeah, we'll still talk about you. Yeah, absolutely. You're up there. Yeah, both coaches and everybody like that too as well. But I want to stay with my Pittsburgh guys first on this. I'm going to go out of order because this one is interesting to me, and I want to hear their take. So if the Steelers miss the playoffs again this year, should Mike Tomlin be fired, regardless of if he has a winning season or not? He last played playoff win was in 2016 and only has 3 playoff wins since 2011. And now I'm a Pittsburgh guy too. I grew up from the stadiums, but I want to hear your takes on this. So Jordan, let's start with you.
No. I'm going to say no. For 2 reasons. One, you always got to ask yourself this when you want someone fired, and Pittsburgh people are just so pull the trigger. Things are going bad, pull the freaking trigger. They think and get someone new. And who are you going to hire? Who's out there? This is when you talk about a job like the Pittsburgh Steelers, this isn't what you can't screw that up. You can't fire a guy, not have a guy out there in mind that could be that guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's a few coaches in the league that I think could do it, but they're all head coaches already somewhere. And I think about the Campbell at the Lions. He's a guy that when he was out there, he fits the Pittsburgh mold. He's kind of got that coward type of attitude to him. He's a hard-headed guy, and Pittsburgh kind of gravitates to that as a fan base and as a city. Same with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. He's another guy that he could fit that mold. But again, those guys are happy where they're at. They're not going to be out there anytime soon, I don't think. So who do you hire if you fire Mike Tomlin? And number 2, it's a dumb move. I don't think you're going to get anyone better. Are you going to say even those guys, Campbell and Vrabel or guys like that, are they better than Mike Tomlin? You ask yourself that question. You fire him and you want to bring someone else in that would come or something. How are they better than Mike? I don't know how many guys are better than Mike out there. So I'm going to say no.
All right, Aaron, we're going to go to you next on this one.
I'm with Jordan. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to use a Tomlinism phrase here. When you play for Pittsburgh, it's like being on scholarship. So, I mean, the guy's been there for almost 20 years now. And so when you look at what he's done, the body of work that he's had to work with, the position he's in now, you know, a lot of people question his coaching and was like, you know, what is he going to do without Big Ben? You know, what is he going to do without all of the talent he's had? He's consistently at winning seasons. Yeah, playoff wins matter. I think that obviously the main goal of the season is to get to the Super Bowl, but the main goal to make it in the regular season is to make it, at least give yourself a chance to make it to the playoffs. He's consistently did that. And, you know, I'm not going to look at who's out there to hire. I just think that, you know, the Pittsburgh's bought into him, what he's done, and there's only been 3 guys in that chair in the Super Bowl era, including him. So, I mean, it's amazing to see that, and I just think that it wouldn't happen if he had to lose, if they missed the playoffs.
All right, Hal, what about you on this take? Should Thomas be fired if they miss the playoffs?
Well, it's kind of like saying, should they fire Belichick if he doesn't make the playoffs, you know?
Yeah.
I think both franchises have similar. They're both getting over the loss of a 20-year quarterback or 15-year quarterback, whatever Big Ben and Brady did. And so in terms of resetting the culture, we were talking about this earlier. You know, it starts with that guy in the locker room. And both coaches have had to reset their culture. So then I think if you're the Rooneys, and they're not a group of people that's going to make rash decisions.
No.
So I think what they're looking at right now is how is the trajectory, and is the culture being reset? Are we buying into Pickett? You know, do we like the decisions we made in on the field with some of the younger defensive guys, you know, and stuff like that. So I think the question is, if he didn't make the playoffs, but he had a winning season, I think the answer is no, you keep him, because your trajectory is still there.
Right.
Now, if they cratered out and won 5 games, then I think, yeah, probably it's time for change.
Okay. Mister, what about you?
You know, like everybody said, you know, I don't think so. I don't think they would or should. You know, you look at the whole body of work, but then you just look at the history of what Pittsburgh Steelers is. You know, how many coaches has coached at that position, you know, since they, you know, been in the NFL. And so that program has a long tradition, and they kind of know are having an idea of what they want, and, you know what I'm saying, guiding that team for for so many years. You know, so I think, like Coach is saying, you know, they, you know, if they was looking for a guy, you know, they looking for someone who's going to be there 15, 20, 30 plus years. If you just look at the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, of how many coaches they've been, you know, and then like Coach said, you know, you cover a quarterback who you had, you know, and Ben for so many years, it's you know, you're going through a change, you know, as far as bringing in a new face, you know, with a new quarterback and trying to find a franchise quarterback that's going to hopefully develop and lead the team the next 10, 15 years, you know, what you're looking at, you know, with the quarterback. So but I don't think they will.
Okay. Tony, what about you? Let's go to my resident Clevelander here for this last question. Should Mike Tomlin be fired if they don't make the playoffs?
I'm going to be honest with you. No, because Mike Tomlin has done a really great job. He's had to deal with his share of diva athletes like Chase Claypool's, your Antonio Brown's, your Le'Veon Bell's. His coaching took a team that probably, for all intents and purposes, should have had maybe 10 or 11 losses. And they somehow were on the doorstep of the playoffs. They got to the playoffs on 2021 in the 11th hour, and they had like a 2% shot to get in on Sunday. The way Tomlin has done things there, honestly, I think Tomlin will go out on his own terms. So I'm going to say.
Okay. Not bad answers here, but Tony, let's stay with you on this one. Who is your prediction for the AFC and the NFC title games this year?
Ooh, that's a good one. I am going to have to say Kansas City, and this is just going to be a complete wild card here. I say Kansas City and the New York Jets will be in the AFC title game. And in the NFC, as much as I want my Saints to get there, I think that somehow, some way, Dallas is going to break that streak. I think it'll be Dallas, and I think it'll be Minnesota. I think Minnesota even will probably somehow find a way to get to make a deep run. So this is just going to be my out on a limb pick.
Okay. Jordan, what about you? Who's your title games this year?
Every year I try to tell myself maybe the Chiefs are going to take a slight step back. Maybe they'll take a slight step back. I it's hard for me to imagine them not being there, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put them there. I don't think the Jets get that far yet. I think they will make the playoffs, and I think they might even win a playoff game. I don't think they're going to be AFC Championship bound yet. And then you got to ask yourself, are the Bengals good enough to get back there? Or are they going to be healthy enough to get back there? So for me, I'm gonna go Cincinnati and the Chiefs for the AFC, a rematch of was that 2 years ago? Yeah. Or was that last year? I can't remember when they played. Yep, 2 years ago. NFC is such a toss-up for me. And you look at the AFC, I think everyone's kind of pretty clear on the fact that the AFC is just this juggernaut, and there's so many teams that could do it or get there. And then you look at the NFC, and you're kind of like, okay, who are the top dogs in there? And there's kind of a big gap, it seems, from there. I like the Eagles still. They lost a few key pieces. I think they win that division. I see them back in it again. I think the 49ers are going to take a step back this year. I do. How much success can Purdy have again? Our team's going to figure him out a bit. Was it a 1-year thing with him? So then you got to think. I would love to see the Lions get there. I don't think Jared Goff might be good enough to get them there. So then, gosh, I don't think the Saints are good enough either. I haven't really even thought about the freaking NFC. I toss it up. I'll go with I'll put the Lions there. I think defensively, Campbell's gonna have. This is the most winnable. This is the biggest chance the Lions have ever had. I have all this confidence in it. There's all this hype. I want to ride it. I'll be a fanboy. I'm gonna put the Lions in the NFC Championship.
Okay, Mister. What about you?
I think in the AFC it will be the Chiefs and the Bengals, and I think Cincinnati will take them down this year if everybody's healthy and moving and grooving. And with the NFC, I think it will be between if Dallas can somehow get over the hump and beat Philadelphia, either or, Dallas or Philadelphia, but I think it'd be Philadelphia and Arizona, Philadelphia, and Arizona.
Okay.
NFC.
Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, so I went back and forth with this, but I'm really comfortable when I mention these four teams. In my AFC, I'm going to go Kansas City and Miami. I really think Miami is going to make a deep playoff run this year. I really think they should have beat the Bills last year as well in the playoffs. But I really think Miami can make the run this year. It's hard. You can't coach speed. I just think that they have so much speed across the board, and you've seen what happened with that when Tyreek Hill was in Kansas City, but now you have probably arguably the second fastest player in the league with Jalen Waddle. And I think they got things figured out on defense. So I'm going to go Miami, Kansas City, Miami. And then on the NFC side, I'm going to go Philly. I think Philly is just so complete across the board in all three phases of the game. they have their franchise quarterback. They have a loaded defense. They have a loaded offense. It's a scary talent over there. And then I'm going to go Seattle Seahawks. I like Seattle. I think Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks take a step forward this year again. And I think they're primed to make a deep playoff run as well. So Philly, Seattle, Kansas City, Miami.
All right. Hal, what about you?
Well, the AFC, I think, is a little easier to predict. I'm going to go, and I like the last arguments we've had, but I'm going to go with Kansas City and Cincinnati. The NFC, we may as well put 16 names in a hat and pull them out. That being said, I'm just going to go on last year. I'm going to 49ers and Eagles again.
Okay. Yeah, the NFC is such a toss-up anymore.
Yeah, no, that could be anybody. It could be teams we're not even talking about.
Yeah. You look through the list of NFC teams and you're like, no, 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 no. Then you get to the end, you're like, well, I just said no to pretty much everyone.
Yeah, you can't find a yes.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Flipping a coin over here, just trying to figure out. Yeah, the NFC is just it. Yeah, it's
well, the AFC is probably a little more clear cut in terms of the top 5 or 6 teams.
Absolutely.
The NFC is probably a little less. I don't know. It's less talented. Maybe it's just more balanced.
I don't know.
Hard to tell.
We're going to round out the show here with this last question here. And Hal, I want to start with you on this one.
Okay.
Who is your Super Bowl prediction and who wins?
Well, it's kind of hard to go against Mahomes in Kansas City, so I'm going to go for a repeat.
Okay. Aaron.
They've had a chance to do it in the past. They failed. Now their history's repeating itself, I think, has a chance to. And I think they'll get it done.
Okay. Aaron, what about you?
It's really hard not to go Kansas City and Philly again. But I'm actually gonna go Miami and Philadelphia. Okay. And I think Kansas. I'm sorry. I think Philadelphia wins this year.
Okay, Mister. What about you?
I'll have to go with them nasty natty, man. The boys from the jungle. Cincinnati Bengals and Philadelphia. And I think saying the Bengals get it done this year.
Okay, Jordan. What about you?
I'm gonna give the Bengals. I am. I really like what they do on offense. I think they're very complete on that side of the ball. I'm gonna go the Bengals, barring Joe Burrow stays healthy this year. And then on that side, I want to go Lions so bad. I don't think Goff can get done against a team like the Eagles. So I'm gonna put Philly back in there, and I think I'm gonna give the edge to the Bengals. I think the Bengals are Super Bowl of the Eagles.
Okay, Tony. What about you?
I think it'll be Kansas City, and I'm going to go on a limb and say Minnesota. Kansas City, Minnesota for the Super Bowl. Kansas City wins it, and Pat Mahomes is the MVP again.
Okay. I'm going to weigh in on this one, and I might surprise people a little bit. I mean, obviously, I'm taking Cincinnati on the AFC side, but I like what Jordan's been saying. I think it's going to be Cincinnati and Detroit, and Cincinnati gets it done in the Super Bowl this year. That is going to be my prediction for this one. I think Detroit gets off the hump this year, and they make it to the Super Bowl, and they're going to shock everybody on the NFC side. So I think Detroit's going to do it, and I think the Bengals are going to get it done, and Joe Burrow is going to lead them to a Super Bowl victory. That is my take on this one, but that is actually to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast. I want to thank all of my guests for coming on here. Hal, Tony, Mr. Jordan, and Aaron. You guys are always great. I love doing these roundtables and everything like that. I think it makes for a great break from the usual show, but I do got to get this sponsorship read in here before we end it, and that is, everybody, it is Bono's Brew, my own personal coffee brand. I have tried these. I have every single flavor you could possibly think of, and I have a bunch of coffee. It ships within 3 days, made right here in Chicago, Illinois. And why go to these big box stores and pay all this money and fight people in line to get coffee? Have us ship it right to your door. It's great, fresh ground coffee, and you cannot beat it. Use the promo code Ride Home Rants, and I will give you 5% off of your first purchase. That is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ride Home Rants podcast and our NFL preview roundtable. As always, if you enjoyed the show, be a friend, tell a friend. If you didn't, tell them anyways. They might like it just because you didn't. That's going to do it for me, and I will see y'all next week.